Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at a hot new Civivi that is none other than the Civivi Bo. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 6.68 inches, with a blade length coming in at 2.92 inches. A blade width of 0.74 inches with a blade thickness coming in at 0.10 inches. Blade material being Nitro V with a drop point style blade, a full flat grind, a handle length coming in at 3.76 inches with a handle thickness coming in at 0.43 inches. The handle width is 0.725 inches. We have some very nice and pretty different carbon fiber handle material. Not something you see Civivi use a whole lot. Real exciting to see this. We have a liner lock locking mechanism with a user of a right hand only tip up carry and a weight coming in at 2.01 ounces. So for all intents and purposes, 2 ounces. Nice light carry. The price on this guy is coming in at $79.50, and it is designed by the one and only Brad Zinker. Now, I gotta say, Brad Zinker's designs have really been appealing to me over the past year or so. They have in the past, but for some reason, I think as my taste and my preferences evolve in knives, Brad Zinker has really climbed towards the top of my list of favorite designers. Not at the top, but he's definitely in the top 5. Let's take a look at some size comparisons here, because this is not a big knife. It's actually a very nice, comfortable, gentlemanly size. Let's start off with a Pena Barlow, which is pretty darn close to the exact same. The Pena doesn't exactly that pocket clip. Kind of struggles to keep it nice and flat. But then we also have the Quiet Carry Waypoint, which of course is considerably longer with a longer blade and handle in general. But just to give you an idea, I think a lot of people know one of these or both of these knives. So as you can see, yeah, Waypoint's a lot longer, but that the Barlow front flipper from the Pena X series is really on par as far as length goes. And got one more round of size comparisons here. From a couple a little closer within the family, we have the Civivi McKenna, which is another great comparison, and as well as the Wee Banter. So as you can see there, that I think that should be enough for just about everybody to have a really good idea of the size and overall presence of this knife right here. It is a real clean design. Huge fan of that. Really one of the reasons why I am a pretty big Brad Zinker fan. Starting off with this blade here, you know, it is what it is, guys. It's a very simple, very clean Brad Zinker design. You know, Brad Zinker is probably the exact opposite of someone like Elijah Isham. Elijah's really out there, and he makes really, grab it here, really unique designs like the McKenna. And then you go to someone like Brad, who just has a very clean design. There's really nothing to pick apart on this blade. It's just it's a nice thin stock with a slicey full flat grind. Comes down to an edge of 11 to 12 thousandths depending on where you're measuring on the edge there. So there's nothing to pick it apart on, and there's nothing that could really make it better in my opinion. Even the Nitro V steel is good enough. M390, S35, yes. I mean, yeah, that would be fine, but there's nothing I would really change about this blade. And that does say a lot. And I really like the Brad Zinker logo back here, nice and clean again. Everything about a Zinker design is crisp and to the point. And I really like what Civivi did here in general with this knife. And this was one of the reasons I was really anticipating the release of this knife over, you know, beginning of the year, or when we first heard about this release. This was my most anticipated Civivi release of the year. Now, to my surprise, Civivi has had some really awesome other releases this year. 3 or 4 that immediately come to mind. That have really stood out as well. But this one is just, it's again, Civivi did it right. They let Brad Zinker design a knife, which they knew was going to be pretty simple and clean, nothing too flamboyant or out there, and they didn't try changing anything. All they did was put some pretty catchy, attractive carbon fiber scales on it, but they didn't try to change the lines. They didn't try to add any textures or flair anywhere on the knife that would kind of take away from Brad's design language. They just let him do his thing, and that's why this knife, I think, is going to sell very, very well. You have the best of both worlds. You have a Brad Zinker design with the Civivi quality and action, and that really is a perfect match in my opinion. There's just everything was handled the right way on this knife. Going into the handle and ergos, the only real issue that I have with this knife, it is the ergos, and it's not that they're uncomfortable or it's more so the size of my hand. When I'm holding this guy, it's just a tad too short at the end. Another 1/4 inch. That's all I need. Just if there was just a little more length on this handle. So really, if the whole knife could just be just a little longer, for me, it would be perfect. But again, this channel is not just about me. It's about all of you guys and trying to give you my insights and input on what I think, how much you guys would enjoy a knife and if this is for everyone. And I do think this knife is really for just about everyone. If you have larger hands, you may have a slight issue. You may not quite love how it sits in your hand, but at the same time, it still feels decent. It's just one of those things to where if you're okay with half of your pinky sitting off the end of the handle, then you're not going to mind this one bit, because there's no real hot spots. This is, again, look at it. Do you see any spot here that could look like it'd be uncomfortable? It's just done really well. The one thing that I don't love, but it's just the nature of the beast when you have a flipper tab, is the flipper and a shorter handle. It makes me want to kind of scooch my hand up, but I can't because the flipper tab has really nice jimping, which it should. But I just feel that on my index, so I kind of keep my fingers back. Now, usually I'm okay with a 3-finger grip on a knife. I'm totally fine with the 3-finger grip. What kind of throws me off is when I have that 3 1/2 or 3 1/4 of a finger grip. That's where it starts to feel a little awkward and weird for me, kind of what I have here. But again, I think majority of the knife community, anyone with little smaller hands or someone that just prefers a smaller handle, is going to really like this knife a lot, especially the handle, because it is smooth. It's it's actually very slightly contoured to where it doesn't feel super flat. It doesn't feel real rounded, but it's not totally flat. It doesn't feel like just flat G10. So it sits in your hand pretty well. And the quality of this carbon fiber is absolutely fantastic. Now, there's two aspects of this for me. There's the actual quality of the carbon fiber when it comes to the imperfections and little divots or stuff that could be missing, little chunks missing out of it. You have none of that. It is super, super smooth. Gets a nice shine when the light hits it. It does what carbon fiber is supposed to do. It takes out the weight and it looks really good. As far as the red, I'm a little torn on the red composite or colors, however they put the red in this carbon fiber. It looks okay on some models. Mine, for example, I can't say I absolutely love it. The highlights, just they're not consistent enough. It kind of messes with the OCD in me, to be totally honest. I have some spots, like the show side is okay, but there's like just blotches here and there. And then on the back, I got this big blotch of red down here with not much up the rest of the handle. So personally, for me, I could almost just do without the red. I'd rather it just be carbon fiber without the red. But again, you're also going to have some models or some versions, some examples of this knife with obviously different scales, because no set of scales looks alike when you're doing stuff like this. They're going to look really, really awesome. They'll have just the right amounts of reds in there mixed with the carbon fiber. So it's kind of you'll have some that look amazing and you'll have some that just aren't that good. Mine could be better. I don't hate it, but I think it could be better. But regardless, luckily the quality overall is good enough to where it doesn't really drive me crazy. I definitely prefer the red over the blue for whatever it's worth. That's just me. But overall, I think the quality of these scales and the finish on them are really fantastic. Pretty much what I would expect from Civivi. As far as the pocket clip, it's a nice deep carry clip. It's the regular Civivi clip. On this one, due to the length of the handle or lack thereof, I feel this ramp a little more. And it's not, it could be a hot spot for some people. For me, again, it's kind of pushing right into this fatty area of my hand in between my middle finger and ring and index finger. So not the end of the world, but again, I don't like feeling the ramp that much. But other than that, there's not much to complain about with the handles of this knife and the ergos. They're somewhat neutral, but again, you feel just a little bit of that contouring and the nice smooth edges. No real complaints after what I just mentioned. Overall, it's a pretty solid build. And going into the action, it is kind of just your typical Civivi action. I mean, which is great. I will say though, I like this action a little more than other Civivis, because the placement of the flipper tab in relation to the pivot and just the overall, the size of the blade, there's a lot of things that factor into it, but you don't have to light switch this. Just a nice little push and the blade flies out. I really like that. I love push buttoning a flipper blade, and that's exactly what you have here, and it's just so good. I haven't even disassembled this guy to clean it yet. It's gonna get even better, and it's already really damn good. So really do like that a whole lot. And of course, pretty easy access to the liner lock, and you just shake it shut and it's good to go. Overall thoughts on this guy are really good. I expected them to be really good. I actually didn't expect to have kind of the less than perfect feel on the ergos. For some reason, I was just expecting everything about this knife to be perfect. For me personally, for my hands, it's not exactly perfect. But again, like I said earlier, this knife is going to sell really well because it's a beautiful, simple, clean design. And I think a lot of people within the knife community appreciate that, especially when you combine Nitro V steel, good quality carbon fiber, and the Civivi build and action that we all know and love, or just about everybody knows and loves. It's gonna do real well, and it really should, because for $79.50 you can't ask for much more than this, I don't think. I'm a big fan of it. I'd recommend it to anyone all day. And even more importantly, what I really want, I want Civivi to do another collaboration with Brad Zinker, and I would really, really love to see them collab with him on his sway front flipper design. If you guys have seen that, Google it. Google Brad Zinker sway front. Oh, it is a beautiful, beautiful knife, and it would almost immediately probably be my favorite Civivi. I love that knife. I've never been able to cough up the money for a custom, but it's an excellent, longer gentleman's blade. Longer than this anyway. It's not a big knife, but I think it's somewhere between 3.3, 3.5 inches. Just a gorgeous design with an excellent front flipper design, and it just looks elegantly amazing. But as for this knife right here, the Civivi Bo, definitely one you guys should check out. I think a lot of people are already on it. If you're not, check it out. It is a great knife. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.